I've convinced the boss to get rid of the baby. And if you continue to interfere, I will make things difficult for you.
South Park did it again. But this time, they didn't just cross the line, they shattered it. In this latest episode, they dive into something way darker than anyone expected. And trust me, this one hits different. Beneath the comedy, there's a message that's impossible to ignore. Let's unpack it. In Season 27, Episode 5, the show dove into something so wild that even the die-hard fans went, "Wait, are they actually saying that?" Yeah, they were. The episode exposed one of the most uncomfortable storylines South Park has ever touched. A bizarre relationship between Satan and Donald Trump, wrapped in symbolism, political shade, and that classic South Park sarcasm that hides a little too much truth. Now, on the surface, it's hilarious. Satan holding a mysterious black box, Trump freaking out about a baby, J.D. Vance whispering like some cartoon villain in the background. But when you actually look closer, you realize the writers weren't joking around. They were spelling out something huge, something people have been whispering about online for years. They just turned it into a parody so they could get away with saying it. The episode's entire mood feels different. Not just shock humor, but this layered message about how power, secrecy, and tech billionaires are shaping the world behind the curtain. It's political satire that hits a little too close to reality. And if you think I'm reaching, just wait, because everything South Park parodied connects to real names, real companies, and real billion-dollar agendas. Now, before we go deeper, let's make one thing clear. This isn't about accusing anyone. This is about how South Park used comedy to expose power in its rawest, weirdest form. And for that, you kinda have to respect them. They've been doing it since they told Tom Cruise to come out of the closet, literally. So why is everyone talking about this episode? Simple. It wasn't just another Trump joke. It was a full-blown expose hiding inside a punchline. The black box, the unborn child, and the symbolism behind that baby, it's South Park's way of saying something big is coming. And if you caught those subtle details, the camera lingering on the box, the cryptic dialogue about secrets that must not be known, yeah.
The secret none must know.
You probably already connected the dots. Because that baby, it's not just a gag, it's what South Park does best, turning political reality into absurdity so it can tell you the truth without ever saying it out loud. What makes the whole thing even stranger is how South Park built this plot like a mystery inside a parody. Satan's holding this black box, acting all cryptic, saying it contains a secret none must know. The camera lingers on it just long enough for you to start wondering, what could be inside that's so dangerous? Then it happens. He opens it, and inside, a positive pregnancy test. Yeah, Satan's pregnant. And not just by anyone, by Trump. It's that classic South Park blend of chaos and genius. On the surface, it's ridiculous. But once you step back, you realize it's their way of saying something about the unholy alliance between politics and corruption, between power and the people who do anything to protect it. And then comes J.D. Vance, sliding into the story like he's been there all along, whispering in Trump's ear, acting like the guy with all the answers but holding way too many secrets. His calm, almost robotic tone in the episode? Not an accident. It's South Park's version of saying, this guy's not just part of the game, he's being played by something bigger. The way the show portrays it, the baby isn't really a baby at all. It's a symbol, the birth of something that shouldn't exist, a creation born from greed, power, and control. A secret that, if ever revealed, could destroy the people who built it. Trump spends the episode trying to get rid of it. Every scene more absurd than the last. Tripping Satan downstairs, swapping pills, setting traps. And yeah, it's funny. But under the humor, there's this message that hits like a gut punch. The powerful will do anything to stop their own creation from turning on them. And then there's that one chilling line. We can do this the easy way, or the hard way.
We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
That's when the parody starts to fade and the truth starts peeking through. Because South Park's never been shy about pulling real people into their stories. And this time, it's not just Trump being mocked, it's the entire machine behind him. J.D. Vance isn't just another character, he's the face of a larger plan. And the show's way of saying, hey, maybe this guy's rise to power wasn't as random as it looks. So while everyone online was laughing about the Satan baby memes, South Park had already laid the groundwork for something much darker. Something about manipulation, money, and the kind of alliances that make politics look more like a script than a democracy. And that's where the question starts forming in your mind. Who's really writing the story? Because the deeper you dig into that question, the more the episode starts feeling less like satire and more like a warning. The moment J.D. Vance appeared in that episode, I knew South Park wasn't throwing random names around. They never do. Every face, every line, every frame means something. And when I saw him whispering in Trump's ear, I thought, oh, they're really going there. Because if you look at the timing, it's not subtle. J.D. Vance didn't just show up in real life out of nowhere, and he definitely didn't rise to the top by accident. He's a project, and South Park just turned that reality into a parody so sharp it almost feels illegal to laugh at. Now, I know some people will say, come on, you're reading too much into it. But no, that's exactly what the writers want you to think. South Park hides truth inside chaos, because chaos distracts people who don't pay attention. And that's where I started digging deeper. J.D. Vance, the character in the show, is this quiet manipulator. He doesn't yell, he doesn't joke, he just advises, always watching, always 2 steps ahead. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because in real life, Vance didn't climb his way into Trump's circle through hard work or luck. He was built for it. Literally built. He's the product of billionaire engineering. Molded, funded, and launched into politics by Peter Thiel, the man who treats power like a science experiment. And South Park nailed it. They turned that dynamic into something symbolic. A politician playing the puppet while a tech god pulls the strings. It's wild because when you connect the dots, it starts making way too much sense. Vance graduates from Yale, instantly lands in Silicon Valley. Guess who's waiting for him? Peter Thiel, the same guy who co-founded Palantir, a company named after the all-seeing crystal balls from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, you can't make that up. This man literally built surveillance software and called it Gotham, as in Batman City, as in he sees everything. And I couldn't help but notice. That's exactly how South Park portrayed him through symbolism. The hidden hand behind the black box, the quiet architect who knows every move before it happens. When I rewatched the episode, it all clicked. That baby isn't just a child. It's the creation of that alliance, the merging of politics and power, born from the deal between Satan and Trump, but engineered by the billionaires who stay out of the spotlight. And J.D. Vance? He's the chosen messenger, the front man, the clean face of a dirty operation. I kept thinking about that one line he says, "I'm next in line to be president."
I'm next in line to be president. That baby cannot be born.
Everyone laughed, but South Park doesn't just write jokes. They write warnings disguised as punchlines. And once I realized that, I couldn't unsee it. Vance isn't just a senator with ambition. He's a product launch, a prototype. And when you trace the connections, the funding, the influence, the timing, it's hard not to see the fingerprints of people who prefer to control from the shadows. And that's when I started asking myself the question South Park was quietly asking too. If someone like J.D. Vance is the next in line, who exactly built the line? The deeper I looked into Peter Thiel, the more I realized South Park wasn't exaggerating. They were underplaying him. The man's practically a real-life Bond villain with better PR. I mean, let's start with the basics. he co-founded Palantir, a surveillance company that built software so powerful it's used by the CIA, the Pentagon, and pretty much every agency you'd never want tracking your every move. They say it's for national security. And sure, that's part of it. But the more I dig deeper, the creepier it gets. Palantir's system, Gotham, doesn't just track criminals. It tracks everyone. It connects data across agencies, cities, and even social platforms, forming patterns to predict potential crimes before they happen. Sounds like a sci-fi movie, right? Except it's not fiction. It's running in real time. And when I found out South Park slipped that exact idea into their plot, the concept of control through prediction, it all started lining up. Satan and Trump's baby isn't just a parody of corruption. It's a symbol of creation through control. The perfect hybrid of chaos and order. Built, monitored, and manipulated by people who already think like Thiel. Now, here's the part that made me pause. Thiel has given lectures, publicly, I might add, where he's talked about the Antichrist. I know, sounds insane. But he literally discussed how people should think more about that figure and what it represents in society. Combine that with his cold, almost alien responses in interviews, like when someone asked him if he wanted humanity to survive and he hesitated. Who hesitates on that question? And that's when I realized South Park didn't make him a parody of a villain. They made him the source material, the mind behind the system, the silent architect. So, when J.D. Vance enters the South Park storyline as the guy whispering to Trump about the baby, it's not just random placement. It's poetic, like Thiel placing his own creation into a simulation of politics, testing how much control he really has. In the real world, Thiel backed Vance from the moment he left Yale, set him up with a Silicon Valley job, funded his startup, pushed him into the spotlight. Then, when it was time for politics, Thiel dropped $15 million into Vance's campaign, the biggest donation in Senate race history. That's not support, that's ownership. And the way South Park ties it all together is genius. The baby becomes this allegory, the thing that should never be born, a product of two evils, one political, one technological, and both desperate to destroy their own creation before it reveals too much. When I saw that scene of J.D. Vance standing by a hospital bed, warning him to, I knew exactly what it meant. It's not about abortion, it's about erasure, about burying something that shouldn't see the light of day, because if it does, it exposes everyone involved. And here's the part. In the episode, every time Trump tries to get rid of the baby, he fails. South Park is practically screaming the message. You can't erase what's already been created. The truth, once conceived, is unstoppable. That's what makes it terrifying and kind of brilliant. Because if you connect that back to reality, it's almost like South Park is saying the quiet part out loud. The people who built the system are losing control of it. And if that's true, then the next part of this story gets even darker. When I watched the scene with the baby again, I realized South Park wasn't really talking about a pregnancy at all. The baby is just the metaphor, the one thing powerful people fear the most, truth getting out. That positive test, that black box, it's all symbolic. To me, it felt like they were hinting at something the public isn't supposed to see, something hidden in those so-called unreleased files. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds cool or mysterious. I say that because the pattern fits. Every season, South Park takes a real headline, dresses it up in absurdity, and hides a truth that only becomes obvious when you look twice. And this time, that truth is staring us dead in the face. The idea that the baby represents those files everyone's too scared to talk about. When Satan reveals he's carrying Trump's child, the entire story flips. Trump's obsession with getting rid of it mirrors exactly how people in power react when someone's about to spill something too big to contain. It's like watching satire disguised as a confession. I remember pausing during that hospital scene, J.D. Vance standing there, completely calm, warning that if Trump doesn't handle it, he will. And I thought, this isn't just parody. This is storytelling with purpose. Because look at what's being said between the lines. Vance represents the middleman, the cleaner, the person who ensures the secret stays buried. He's not emotional, not invested, just focused. The kind of person who doesn't blink when told to make it disappear. And when you connect that to real life, it suddenly clicks. You have the billionaire who built the system, the politician who benefits from it, and the apprentice being groomed to take it even further. It's not a love triangle, it's a power pyramid. And the baby? That's what happens when corruption reproduces. It becomes something they can't control anymore. That's why Trump's panicking. That's why Vance is threatening. That's why Satan's protecting it. Because the baby isn't just a creature, it's evidence. If it's born, everything comes out. If it's destroyed, the secret dies with it. That's the whole moral hidden beneath the chaos. The baby stands for exposure, and the entire establishment is trying to smother it before it breathes. And South Park didn't just hint at this. They built the whole episode around it. Every scene of Trump plotting, every failed attempt, every bit of over-the-top humor, it's all just smoke for the real message. When I realized that, the show's dialogue suddenly started sounding different. The jokes didn't feel like jokes anymore. They felt like warnings dressed as punchlines. Because think about it. Trump's character isn't just trying to destroy the baby. He's trying to erase what it represents. The truth, the connection, the receipts. And South Park, in their chaotic genius, made that the center of the story without ever saying it out loud. I've seen people online laughing at how absurd the plot was. But honestly, I don't think South Park cares if people laugh. I think they care that people notice. And the people who did notice, well, they know exactly what kind of files this baby stands for. So, when I think about that ending, Trump exhausted, Satan defiant, J.D. Vance cold and silent, I can't shake the thought that the writers were sending a message right to the audience. You can destroy the evidence, you can silence the whistleblowers, but once the truth exists, you can't uncreate it. And if you've been paying attention, you know that's not just a story. That's real life. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that South Park wasn't just clowning around. They were dropping a message right between the lines. A message most people laughed past. Because that's what South Park has always done best. They hide truth inside absurdity. They've been doing it for years. When they mocked Tom Cruise, it wasn't about jokes. It was about image control. When they took on the Church of Scientology, it wasn't just a gag. It was rebellion in disguise. And now, with Trump, Vance, and the Satan baby, they've taken it to a level that feels like satire mixed with whistleblowing. And honestly, I kind of respect that. That's when it hit me. South Park was holding up a mirror, not just to politicians, but to us. To the people who see headlines, hear rumors, and decide it's easier not to care. Because caring gets you in trouble. And that's exactly how powerful people win. By convincing everyone else to stay quiet. I've always loved that about this show. Beneath all the fart jokes and chaos, it's a masterclass in coded communication. The kind of humor that gets past censors because it's wrapped in laughter. The kind that says what journalists can't. When I looked back at everything, the black box, the easy way or hard way threat, the obsession with erasing the baby, it all made sense. The entire season isn't about Satan or Trump. It's about how truth gets treated like a crime. It's about how control replaces curiosity and how the biggest secrets in the world aren't hidden in vaults. They're hidden in plain sight, inside the jokes nobody takes seriously. And here's the part that sticks with me most. South Park didn't just pick J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, or Trump because they're trending. They picked them because they represent a blueprint. How influence is built, how it's protected, and how it spreads. One builds the system, other fund it, and the next one front runs it. And together, they create something that's not supposed to exist. A monster born from greed and ambition, hidden behind buzzwords like progress and innovation. And when I realized that, I stopped laughing. Because it's not just clever writing, it's a wake-up call. The truth is, South Park doesn't need to say names or show evidence. They let us do the math. They trust their audience to catch the references, to Google the connections, to see who funds whom, and how everything somehow leads back to the same handful of people who already own half the system. And yeah, maybe it's exaggerated. Maybe it's just entertainment. But it also might be one of the few shows still brave enough to point at the elephant in the room and say, yeah, we see it. Do you? When the credits rolled, I sat there thinking about how many people probably watched the episode, laughed, and moved on, never realizing they'd just been handed one of the most savage breakdowns of modern power ever written for television. And maybe that's the point. South Park gives you the truth disguised as nonsense because that's the only way truth survives now, hidden behind a joke. I'm not saying everything in the show is literal. I'm not saying there's a secret cabal meeting in a volcano somewhere. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, South Park saw what the rest of us weren't supposed to, and instead of leaking files, they animated them. And honestly, that's kind of genius. Because at the end of the day, humor might be the last safe way to tell the truth. And if you ask me, that's exactly what South Park just did. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, drop a comment, and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. More wild deep dives are coming. Stay sharp and stay curious.